Good Thursday evening. This is the second winter storm update on January the 11th, 2018. On our impending winter storm, confidence has begun to increase over the last 24 hours, and there are some pretty drastic changes between my forecast video from last night and from the one that I'm about to show you right here. The winter storm highlights that we're going to start out with is a strong cold front is going to move through here in just a few hours. Freezing rain, sleet, and snow is going to all be combined on top of these roadways, going to make for some very slick travel. And to go with that icing, we're going to be looking at high wind gusts as well. So some scattered power outages are not possible, or they are possible, but they're really not likely. We're going to look at prolonged icing compared to that snowfall. We're going to see much more hours and duration of icing than we are going to be looking at snow. Things we'll take a look at, but the timing of precipitation types, the wind gust, our temperatures, forecasted soundings, the forecasted road conditions, and the accumulations. Here's a look at the timing starting out at Friday at 12 a.m. We're looking at that changeover line from rain to freezing rain beginning to make its way through the Purchase region of western Kentucky, where I really think that right around maybe 11 o'clock is when it starts to begin to move into portions of our extreme northwestern counties and portions of Wickliffe, and then Ballard counties and Carlisle counties, extreme northwest McCracken County. As we go throughout the night, we're going to see that freezing rain line begin to quickly pushed across the region, and it should be over into portions of Callaway County by around 1 a.m. And this is a little bit faster than what guidance was showing yesterday. So this is a step up, I guess you would say, in confidence that we're beginning to see models come together in the timing of this. But it's also a bad thing that we're seeing the colder air arriving quicker than what they were originally anticipated on the models yesterday, because that means a longer duration of wintry precipitation. Friday at 2 a.m., we begin to see that sleet begin to move into the region. This would be the changeover line from freezing rain to sleet. And this is around 2 a.m. We're seeing the entire purchase area covered in some form of wintry precipitation. I do think that we're just going to be dealing with freezing rain and sleet by this time. No snow to worry about this early in the morning on Friday. But this is certainly going to put an end to that freezing rain threat. And this is only going to last for just a couple of hours before we begin to see that sleet move into the region. So sleet is a good news in this situation, that it is pushing that freezing rain out of the area, which is what causes that glaze of ice across the roadways. By Friday at 10 a.m., we begin to see the sleet change over to snow. This is even better. Snow is the easiest thing to travel in compared to sleet and freezing rain. And so we're beginning to see that change over from sleet to snow around 10 a.m. This will occur earlier in the morning, say around 8 or 9 a.m. in our western counties, such as the Mississippi River border counties and possibly McCracken County. As we go throughout the morning, we're going to slowly see all of this precipitation switch over to snow, and this is going to be very slow. This looks like it isn't going to last long because it's right here at the edge of the purchase region. It would quickly move out, but that's a little bit intimidating because this is going to be a very slow weather maker once we get into Friday morning. We're going to see these snow bands persist possibly throughout most of the morning and even into the early afternoon hours as well, which could enhance those snowfall totals a little bit higher in some localized areas. Not only are we dealing with wintry precipitation, but high wind gusts during this event as well. We're going to see a cold front move through. You can tell it right here. We have high winds ahead of it, but really we're going to see the strongest winds behind this cold front. These are forecasted wind gusts from the NAM 3 km guidance. This would be for 1 a.m. on Friday morning, so this is really in the heart of our freezing rain, and we're looking at those winds to rapidly increase once we go through, right after midnight, right after that cold front moves through. Sustained winds are going to be at around 15 to 30 miles per hour, but we will have some gusts up to 40 miles per hour and maybe even some higher gusts than that. This is going to probably cause some localized power outages. I'm not going to be surprised. When you have ice on the power lines, you're looking at high winds, you're probably going to deal with some localized power outages, so power crews need to be prepared for that. A cold front moves through first. This is how we all get this to begin, is we have to have this colder air to work with, and we expect it to move through around 9 to 10 o'clock p.m., but that's not when the wintry precipitation starts because that's when the cold front moves through. So it will take a couple of hours before temperatures actually reach the freezing point and problems begin to arise. Temperatures will rapidly drop from near 60 degrees to around 30 degrees in just a couple of hours. So an extremely sharp drop in temperatures. This is a very sharp and strong cold front. Thursday at 8 p.m., this is tonight at 8 p.m., we're looking at that cold front beginning to edge its way into our extreme northwestern counties and northwestern portions of Ballard County, give or take about 30 minutes or so. We move into the 11 o'clock hour on Thursday evening, and we begin to see the entire purchase area, at least through that cold front when we're starting to see by that time that freezing line beginning to work its way into our northwestern counties. So this is all going to be a very quick progression. It's going to happen very rapidly. You're going to go from temperatures near 60, feeling like spring, to around the wintertime, 30 degrees. It's going to be a very rapid and intense drop, and so you need to be prepared for that because that means that problems on the roadways will begin very quickly and without notice. Forecasted soundings, we're taking a look high up in the atmosphere. There is major changes in the forecasted soundings compared to the video that I showed you last night. Soundings are now indicating a faster exit of that warmer layer of air aloft, and this means that there could be a quicker changeover from sleet to snow than what I was originally anticipated. So let's take a look at what that looks like visually. At Friday, 12 a.m., we're looking at the freezing line is right here, this black line, and we're looking at the surface all the way up into the atmosphere. This red line is our temperature, so the snowflake is falling, but boom, it hits this warmer layer. The temperature goes above freezing for a few hundred feet in the atmosphere, and then it comes back down to freezing here at the surface. So that snowflake enters into this warm layer, it melts, and then it hits the ground where it's below freezing, and that's what we call freezing rain. It creates that glaze of ice on the roadways. Friday at 3 a.m., this warm layer is beginning to shrink just a little bit. We're seeing this beginning to move towards a more colder regime. Temperatures at the surface continuing to lower at this time, and we are also looking at that colder air beginning to move its way throughout the entire atmospheric column and not just at the surface. So this means that we might begin around 3 a.m. switching over to some sleet. Moving to Friday at 9 a.m., we're beginning to see possibly snow begin to mix in with that sleet, if not an entire changeover from sleet to all snow. Here's that temperature line once again. We begin to see that warmer layer of air aloft beginning to shrink, so that snowflake can make its way all the way down to the surface without entering into some trouble of warm air. So this is good news. This is meaning that we might be looking at a quicker changeover from sleet to snow, which means we are looking at maybe less sleet accumulations, but we're looking at more snow accumulations than we were looking at yesterday. I only had 0 to a half inch. I wasn't very confident on this second wave forming close to our region. Things have changed. It looks like it is going to, and so this is how things are unfolding. If we look at what those forecasted road conditions are for the region, bridges are going to become slick first, as well as overpasses. We know that. But roads will quickly become slick right after midnight. I think a lot of people are going to be caught off guard. I'm very thankful that this event is changing into freezing rain at the time that it is. I'm glad that this is not happening during a rush hour or during the daylight hours, but this is happening at night. So most people will be in bed or hopefully at home. But if you do have to travel, please be prepared that we are looking at these roads to become extremely treacherous, very deteriorating rapidly conditions across the roads in the Purchase region just right after midnight. This is going to be a little bit overwhelming. We're going from temperatures near 60 all the way down to 30 in just a couple of hours, and that could mean anywhere from you driving from McCracken to Ballard County and going from spring to winter. I mean, it's just that bizarre right now. So this is just something that you need to take in mind. Reduce visibilities, especially when we see that changeover from sleet to snow on the mid-morning hours on Friday. This is when we're going to begin to look at that heavier snowfall accumulations across the region. That first initial switchover from sleet to snow, very heavy snow, heavy sleet is going to reduce visibilities, and roads will remain slick through this weekend at the least. Refreezing is going to occur, not really because of sunshine or because of warmer temperatures, but we're going to be looking at some of those cars and trucks and semis driving over these ice and snow-covered roadways. It will help to create some traction that will melt anything that is under those tires. But when we go into the overnight hours, we start to see less of commotion on the roadways. That's when we begin to see that refreezing process occur, and it just repeats itself. Another chance of snow on Monday evening, so that could be causing some problems as well on top of what is already going to be on the roads and on the ground. Forecasted accumulations from freezing rain, we're looking at significant accumulations, and it doesn't look like a lot when you say around 0.15 of an inch to 0.3 of an inch, but that's a lot of freezing rain, and that is a lot of problems. A trace of freezing rain to 0.3 of an inch is all still slick, and it is going to cause extremely treacherous roadways. I'm not trying to hype this by any means. Freezing rain is not something that you want to deal with. Sleet, it's a little bit better, but it eventually turns into a glaze of ice because we see people driving over it and it melts and refreezes. But we're looking at well higher sleet accumulations than I was anticipating from yesterday's video, around 0.75 of an inch to 1.5 inches, and snowfall accumulations have came up to around 1 to 3 inches. and I'm even starting to wonder if we might even see some higher accumulations in snow than that. So we'll watch it very closely, but nonetheless, please stay off the roadway, stay inside as this winter storm begins to barrel into the Purchase region.